Howdo, time for Spider and Old Scooter again. This is the POLD edition. P-O-L-D, POLD. Tell you all about that in a bit. We'll discuss Houston. I got some inside poop on Houston. I'll have a comment about Trump. And I'll dance the Schadenfreude. About Greece. Not the kind you put on the fried potatoes, but, as in Grecian urn. So, on with the game. This is Spider Solitaire, the iMac version. Not in the right place on the screen, which will correct that rather quickly. Just like that. Aren't I a whiz at that kind of stuff? This game seems to be halfway finished. Should I finish it? I haven't. This is as far as I've played. I forgot that I played it. Till just now. It doesn't look familiar to me. Hi, game. Well, Spider Mac, speaking of familiar, is sort of my familiar, or she is her own familiar on this. She's the artificial intelligence behind Spider the Solitaire iMac version, with its own little idiosyncrasies, but she's a wicked woman, or a wicked pile of pixels. So here we go. I guess that's what I'll do. That'll be very quick, won't it? I'll be through. You don't have to put up with a lot of Spider Solitaire. The reason I call it the POLD, P-O-L-D, that's not that hard to remember, Scooter. It stands for Progressive Old Liberal Democrat. I'm not sure that's its original form, because I heard it from Garrison Keillor. We went to see Garrison Keillor Sunday night up in Santa Fe. Santa Fe has this great opera house with the world's absolutely best acoustics in my HO. And here's Garrison, retired from his radio show, has many of his old traveling musicians with him, including a man I absolutely idolize, Rich Jaworski, the keyboard guy. I didn't know he played accordion. Of course, it has a keyboard, so why wouldn't he? I knew he played the piano like nobody's business, and organ and so forth. But he made an accordion sound good, which is not easy, in my humble opinion. But anyway, Garrison was fantastic. I won't even try to tell you all the stuff he did. He got us all singing, and that, it was an interesting audience. It was sort of a silver hair among the gold bunch of hipsters. The demographics are what they are. Probably 80% of the people there were over 60. And there were a bunch of them like me who were 80 and older and have sort of grown up with Garrison and so forth. But anyway, he said we ought to admit more often that's what we are, progressive old liberal Democrats. It struck Dorothy that the first letters spell POLD, P-O-L-D. Good word. So many new words these days. So I'm a POLD from now on. I thought I was a libtard, but I'm a POLD. Okay, that's why that's called. That's a play one hand. Are there any? Did I stop this game after it was? That wouldn't do me any great good, would it? Doesn't do me any great harm. I got a pair of 8s there blocking that pile. Stack. If I did this, I'd have a free 9. What would I have? Put it over here. And then I would have a king with, I'll just sort of do whatever moves I see, whether they look prudent or not. This is not a night for prudence. Oh my gosh, almost everything seems trivial after you watch what's going on in Houston. The insight I have from Houston is that a friend of mine, I don't know him real well, but I've known him for a couple of years. Good man, very smart, funny. He's conservative, but I forgive him for that. And he sent, one of the local TV stations sent a reporter and a cameraman out on a boat through his neighborhood. So he was able to send us a tape. He's living with friends on high ground somewhere. I didn't know there was any there, but, and he sent this piece. I'd show it to you, except it's beyond me how to do that right now. And here was his neighborhood. I wasn't clear entirely which was his house, but one of them was. And it was a very sort of well-to-do neighborhood. Seems like most of the news reports about people being rescued and going into shelters and being plucked from rooftops and so forth. So far, my impression, I'm not watching like a crazy man, but is that most of them are in poorer neighborhoods where they were sort of depressed, not only financially, but geographically. So they flooded first. And so there were poor people and old people and little kids and sick people and a lot of black people and a lot of Hispanic people and so forth. Well, this was like the other end of the socioeconomic spectrum. His neighborhood was big time houses, big yards, nice SUVs, totally underwater. And the water was up to the ceilings, basically, of everybody's first floor. So those houses are just trashed. I mean, beyond belief. And it's, long, big, wealthy neighborhood. And the cameraman and the reporter were riding with a rescue guy, a police captain. And he'd been out all day and all night and all day and all night rescuing very affluent people, not just poor old ladies with tiny dogs. So that was, and of course Trump shows up over in Corpus Christi, the body of Christ, and brags about his crowd size, and says, we're going to help you get over this better than it's ever been done before. Well, there has never been anything like this before, Mr. President. But he was at least staying in form. Okay, I don't see any more moves. Therefore, I shall take a deal and see what I got here. I got a Jack Queen. My inclination is to move that for some irrational reason, so I'll resist irrationality and not move it. This game wasn't going very well that I decided to start over again, or pick up in the middle, it looks like. So who's to blame for that? This is when I need a sock puppet. You sure do. Quite willing and eager and able to place blame where it belongs. So if I did that, but this seems rational. I do that, I have it too, it doesn't do it. You don't mind if I mutter. I'm going to just do this, just to have a little action on the board, man. A little something happening down south. Or I could do, no, I couldn't. Yes, I could. And in the process, expose a red king, which I don't need, but hey, I exposed a red king. How many of you can say that? So I'll go into the last one, and I'll tell you about Schadenfreude. I'm pretty sure that's the way it's pronounced. You know, when you sort of feel evilly good when something bad happens to somebody you don't like, or somebody, some irony, they went around smashing old ladies' toes, and in the process smashed an explosive one and blew off their leg, and you feel something. Schadenfreude. He got his. Well, this is about Greece and China. It was in the midst of an online conversation about the future of governments, say 1,000 years from now. It's the kind of conversation I get in. What can I say? And this one guy said, well, certain cities will survive, or certain countries, because they've gone through dozens and dozens of changes of society and changes of environment and all that. Greece, the whole country of Greece, has been around for a very long time, keeps surviving. Rome, the city, the eternal city. China, the first civilized nation. And a few other named will survive. And I made the point, I said, well, China and Greece together, look out, Jack. The thing is, Greece is so ticked off at the European Union for this thing called austerity, where in order to get the money, they needed to save themselves from national bankruptcy. They had to do all kinds of cutbacks on everything. Everybody's pensions were cut, paid-in pensions. Everybody's salaries were cut. Everybody's medical insurance was cut. They cut. They just rendered the whole country sort of crushed, sort of smushed by this thing called austerity, which was foisted upon them primarily by the Germans. So, it's been a few years since that happened, 3 or 4, and the Greeks are understandably upset about it. So, the Chinese came along with billions and billions and billions of euros. They don't use the drachma anymore, but anyway, they're buying up everything in Greece. They're putting a huge financial footstep in Greece. They're going to have a voice in the EU. I don't think the EU wants that. So I had a little schadenfreude that EU bullied Greece, treated them so badly, in my humble opinion. I'm probably wrong, but hey. And now they're getting theirs. And I feel that little schadenfreude buzz happens right here. I don't have the hiccups tonight anyway. Well, this game is just not going anywhere. So I will go somewhere. I mean, there's probably some I could manipulate. I could move things around. None of them would pay off. So what the heck? I join you all, I hope, in sending your most powerful psychic approvals and assistance and encouragements and so forth to the people of Houston, including my poor friend whose house is wiped out. We have conversations with you. This is life-changing, it really is. I mean, everything in the first floor of a 2-story building, a 2-story house you've lived in forever, so you know how much irreplaceable stuff was in there. And he being a man of affluence, there's probably a lot of expensive stuff in there too, but it's only stuff. And of that, I'm only Duff. Terrible.